After 20 legendary seasons in the NFL, it looks like Drew Brees is planning on hanging up his cleats and retiring. Over his career, Brees proved to be a class act in the league and also set some memorable records in some of the league's top categories, including completions, passing yards, and completion percentage. He will inevitably be inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame as he was undoubtedly one of the best quarterbacks to ever touch a football, but his retirement leaves the New Orleans Saints with a burning question to answer. Who's next? Hello, everybody. I'm Jack Smith from the Cold Hard Truth podcast, where we bring you the cold hard truth on everything football. In this video, I'm going to be going over all of the possible quarterbacks that have a chance of being the Saints starting signal caller in 2021, and in the end, come to a conclusion on who I think the Saints should go with to follow in Drew Brees' footsteps. If this interests you, please leave a like on the video and subscribe for more football content just like this one. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers for the Super Bowl, and we need your help. But without further ado, let's take a look at the two in-house options the Saints have when looking to replace Brees. If the Saints decide to look in-house for their next starting quarterback, there are two main guys that I think could serve as replacements to Brees. One is gadget do-it-all player Taysom Hill, who served as Brees' backup this year, and the other is Jameis Winston, a quarterback who's notorious for his explosive touchdowns as well as turnovers. Hill has gotten opportunities to start for the Saints in the past when Brees was out with injury, and though he proved that he can make big plays in a backup role, his success did not translate in those few games starting. Hill went 3-1 over the 4-game stretch when Brees was out, but his inability to run and execute a successful passing offense was apparent. Over those 4 games, he only threw for over 250 yards just one time, and he managed only a mere 4 passing touchdowns and still threw 2 interceptions. To put it simply, I just don't believe that Taysom Hill is a starting caliber quarterback over a long period of time. He's proven he can play in a gadget role. He's a great tight end. He's good on special teams. He can run the ball if necessary. They have certain packages for him, and they're obviously very loyal to him as a franchise. They've stuck with him and stuck behind him all of these years, but I just don't think he has the ability to, for 16 games, run an effective passing offense and be a franchise quarterback. So he will be a Saint next year. He will play all of the same roles he did. I just don't know if he's going to be the franchise quarterback, but the franchise does seem to like him, so he's obviously still in the running. Jameis Winston joined the Saints this past year after a historically interesting season in 2019 with the Buccaneers, where he threw 30 plus touchdowns but also threw 30 plus interceptions, a rare feat that really just shows you his ability to turn the ball over but also still make some explosive plays. He led some tremendous offensive performances for the Buccaneers but also imploded one too many times, turning the ball over too much, and the Saints inevitably signed him to fill up the lower parts of their depth chart, but he's still definitely in the running for this starting quarterback job. Winston has all the talent in the world, he just lacks the mental awareness to protect the football, and he doesn't have the same level of safety that the Sean Payton offense is built around. With a year sitting behind Brees, however, I would hope that Winston will learn a couple things from the king of completions himself, and interestingly enough, Brees was seen talking to Winston as the Saints' recent loss to the Buccaneers wound down, and it looks like he said, "This is your team now." I'm not sure if Brees holds all of the Saints' secret in his hands, but that could show you a little bit about where the Saints brass's loyalty lies. It looks like Winston might be a big option for the team, especially if Drew Brees is out telling him that it's his team. And I do think that Winston has a lot of potential. Obviously, we've seen his explosive ability, but will he be able to get this job? I don't know. Drew Brees seems to think so, but we'll get into that at the end of the video. That's just a little background on the two in-house options should the Saints decide to look inwards for their next starting quarterback. But the next obvious option is out on the open market for the rest of the NFL team. So let's get into a couple options that the Saints have on the open market. Before we get into the legitimate options, I want to dispel any ridiculous ideas that Saints fans might have. First of all, you're not going to trade for Deshaun Watson. And second of all, there is just no chance that you sign Dak Prescott. They just simply don't have the draft capital to move and get a guy like Watson, and they don't have the funds and cap space to support contracts for either Watson or Prescott. Unfortunately, the Saints are in what you would call cap hell, and so they won't be able to get either of those big two options, but there are some legitimate options on the open market. I just had to get these out of the way, so delusional Saints fans don't attack me in the comment section for not having these guys. The realistic market options, in my opinion, are guys like Cam Newton, Mitchell Trubisky, and possibly even Jacoby Brissett. Cam Newton is one of the biggest football players of this past decade, won an MVP and almost a Super Bowl with the Carolina Panthers, but unfortunately this year with the New England Patriots had a down year, and he really just wasn't able able to throw the ball very well whatsoever. A lot of his struggles were due in large part to the disparity of weapons that the Patriots have. And if he comes to the New Orleans Saints, that's the problem that he won't have to deal with. He'll have guys like Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Jared Cook could be back for the team. Tre'Quan Smith broke out in the playoff game. There's a ton of weapons that the Saints have. So should Newton come to the Saints, that's a problem he will not have to worry about. I think there's a ton of potential there, especially if they go out and sign Newton. I don't think it will be a very large contract. They'll be able to get him for cheap, just like the Patriots did, because he had a down year, because he's come off some injuries. But he can be a great option for this Saints team. He's conservative with the football, and he can make big plays if they tap into his potential. I think this might be a guy that Sean Payton looks at and says, we can make something out of Cam Newton. Cam Newton is a transcendent talent. Perfect size for a quarterback. He can run the ball well. He'll be a great pairing with Alvin Kamara. He can get the ball downfield if need be. He's got a great arm. It's just all needs to come together. I think there are weapons there in New Orleans. There could be coaching there in New Orleans. So it's a good option, something that the Saints should have on their mind because it's a cheap deal for a great player who's just a shell of their former selves because of what they've had to deal with in the past couple of years. But if the Saints can get it right, that's a great option for them on the open market. The next player is actually Mitchell Trubisky, and while Saints fans may come at me and be upset that I'm putting Mitchell Trubisky on this list, I think it's something they have to consider. Trubisky is still young. He's just coming off his rookie deal with the Bears. And while he might be a meme, I mean, everyone likes to make fun of Mitchell Trubisky, he's still a serviceable quarterback. I mean, Drew Brees this year still turned the ball over, something Mitchell Trubisky might do, but Trubisky played well down the stretch and towards the end of this year. And he's shown that he has flashes. He's still a young quarterback. I believe he's 27. He won't cost too much. And if Sean Payton believes in himself and his ability to progress quarterbacks, Trubisky could be a very big gamble that could pay off big time. And so I think that you have to consider him for this next job. The final open market option, in my opinion, is quarterback Jacoby Brissett, and I think this is the most conservative option out of all the ones we've talked about. I think Brissett is simply a game manager, and that's what he would be with New Orleans Saints. He's a stocky build, he's got a good arm, and he'd be able to run the offense well. I'm just not sure the upside that he would bring to a team, but he would be a super cheap quarterback on the open market. Most teams would probably bring them in as a backup, and what the Saints could do is pair one of the in-house options with a guy like Brissett, have a quarterback competition, have them go at it, and see what happens and see what results from it. But he's a conservative option. He's played the last couple of years on the Colts, even had a year where he was able to start a good amount of the games. And I think that he is a serviceable option that could bring something to the Saints if they want to go that route. But like I said, he's a conservative option. I'm not sure how much upside there is, but at least it's something that I wanted to mention because he'd be cheap, he'd have some potential, and he'd also be able to manage the offense. So needed to put him into consideration. We've gone over in-house players and open market players, and there's only one more place the Saints could look to try and find their future quarterback, and that's the draft. I think there's only one option for them if they want to find their franchise quarterback in the draft, and that's Kyle Trask out of the University of Florida. Anish is going to do a video later this week on Kyle Trask, a full scouting report, and I'll link that up here for when it comes out. But for now, I think Trask is a good quarterback. He was previously a top 25 pick prospect, but after the bowl game, it seems like he's fallen out of the first round, but that's where the Saints are picking. They're picking low first round. Quarterbacks tend to get overdrafted. Trask could be a guy that they look at and say, we might not have a chance to draft a franchise quarterback like this, and they could take a chance on a guy like Kyle Trask. So it's an option. Kyle Trask, the big knock on him is he's not able to play without his weapons, Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney. That's why he struggled in the bowl game. But like Cam Newton, like I said, there are a ton of weapons on this Saints team for Kyle Trask to use. He's still young. He could be paired with another guy in this video to be the franchise quarterback down the line. But if he's there at the Saints pick and they think, we need a quarterback, let's look for Kyle Trask, I think it's a very realistic option. And while Saints fans might not like it because it might be an overdraft, he might be more of a second round prospect, sometimes you need to reach to get a franchise quarterback because it's the most valuable position in football. It's proven to be the most valuable position over the last couple of years where you see them get overdrafted. And hey, it's a good option. I'm not sure he has high bust potential, but it's an option that they could consider, and so I had to include it in this video. Before we get into my final opinion for who the Saints should go with as their next starting quarterback, I want to recognize Drew Brees one last time. Brees is an absolute legend and one of my favorite football players that I've ever had the chance to watch. For some reason, I was always drawn to Brees as a player. Maybe it's because my elementary school principal was a Saints fan, and so I knew Drew Brees' name before a lot of the other football players, but I've always been drawn to Drew Brees. He's a tremendous man. He's a tremendous player. I just want to say thank you to Drew for everything that he's taught me about football, for everything I've learned just from watching him. One of the most accurate passers of all time, one of the best stand-up guys in the NFL of all time, a true class act, someone who will stand the test of time, who will go down as a top 5 quarterback and a legendary quarterback at that. Drew Brees deserves to be recognized. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's a top 5 guy. And just, I wanted to recognize him one last time because he had a tremendous career, a tremendous last couple seasons. I know people will harp on him for, not having the same arm talent that he did in the past and that he was washed, but he played 20 seasons in the NFL, guys. Let's take one last time to recognize him for what he is, an absolute legend. So thank you, Drew. Good luck in retirement. Just wanted to recognize him one last time. But let's get into my final opinion for who should replace Drew and who the Saints should go with as their starting quarterback in 2021. Early on, I got rid of guys like Jacoby Brissett and Taysom Hill because I believe Brissett is too much of a conservative option. There's no point in going after him with the couple guys that they have on their roster. And also Taysom Hill. I just believe that he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He could be a backup. He can have some formations. He's also a tight end. He's just not a starting quarterback in my eyes. I also got rid of Kyle Trask because I just don't think that the Saints are in a position right now to draft a quarterback at the end and the tail end of the first round. I just don't think Kyle Trask is the guy for them moving forward. So that left us with the options of Mitchell Trubisky, we have Jameis Winston, and we have Cam Newton. And honestly, when it came down to it, my number one choice for who the Saints should go with for their next starting quarterback was Jameis Winston. I think that there's a lot of untapped potential there, and I'm really excited to see what he was able to learn after sitting behind Drew Brees and Taysom Hill actually for 1 year. Obviously, he's a super explosive quarterback. He can put up a ton of points, and I hope that his time learning under Brees taught him how to be safe with the ball. I think Sean Payton was able to show him that too. So I'd be really, really excited to see what Jameis Winston could do as the future of the New Orleans Saints, and I think that's who they should go with as their quarterback going into 2021. Cam Newton's a great option too, and also Mitchell Trubisky. I think if I had to do tiers, the tier 1 would be Jameis Winston and Cam Newton, untapped potential with some explosive ability. Tier 2, I believe, would be Trubisky, and then tier 3 would be Jacoby Brissett and Taysom Hill and Kyle Trask. Maybe I'd move Kyle Trask into tier 2 to even it out a little bit because he has some potential, but I really like the idea of Jameis Winston and even Cam Newton on the Saints because I think Cam Newton's the more conservative option, but a little bit less explosive of Jameis Winston, and he's a little bit older, which is why I went with Winston because I believe there's also a future there. I'm not sure there's a future with Cam Newton, but Jameis Winston in a Saints uniform playing for the Saints all year would be a very, very big sight to see. I would really like to see that. And I want to know what you guys think. I want to know what you guys think down in the comment section about who the Saints should go with as their next starting quarterback. So let me know. Type it up. You can do it in tiers. You can make your list of all the options I talked about or some of the options that you thought of on your own. Let me know. I want to converse with you guys down in the comments. I'll make sure to get back to every single one of you to talk about your picks. Also, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we're trying to hit 500 subscribers before the Super Bowl, and we need your guys' help. If you want more NFL and even college football content just like this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button to help this video out. You can go down, like I said, and find the Kyle Trask scouting report. Streetcar's also doing a mock draft this week, so we've got a ton of football content coming out to you guys. You want to be here with the Cold Hard Truth. Join Cold Hard Truth Nation so you can watch all this great football content going into the football offseason and all of the stuff like that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.